Good morning. Welcome to the New York City Council hearing for the Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management. Please silence all cell phone electronic devices. If you wish to participate in today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant at Arms. Moving forward, no one is to approach the dais unless being called on. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Can you hear me now? All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Councilmember Justin Sanchez, and I'm here today as the chair to the Committee of Sanitation and Solid Waste Management. Welcome to today's hearing, and thank you to the members of the committee and the representatives for joining us here today. I'd like to also thank the members of the public that are here to testify. To minimize disruption, again, please place all your electronics devices on vibrate or silent. I would also like to acknowledge the council members who are present here with us today. We have Councilmember Maloney, we have Councilmember Santos-Suoso, we have to TBD. The purpose of today's hearing is to hear two pieces of legislation. A pre-considered introduction sponsored by myself in relation to street cleanliness requirements for city concessionaires and franchisees, and another pre-considered introduction sponsored by Councilmember Sean Abreu in relation to a pilot program for power washing machines to clean sidewalk surfaces and commercial corridors. These bills have the potential to protect your public health in New York City and to make our streets cleaner. I look forward to the testimony that we received today on these bills. I'd like to thank everyone on my team for their work on this legislation. See anyone else? Can you please swear in our first panel, please?
Good morning. My name is Morgan Barrett, Committee Counsel for the Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management. May you please raise your right hands? Thank you. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and to respond to council member questions honestly?
I do.
Thank you. You may begin your testimony when ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Sanchez and members of the Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management. I am Javier Lohan, the Acting Commissioner of the New York City Department of Sanitation, and I am joined today by Joshua Goodman, Deputy Commissioner of Public Affairs and Customer Experience. Thank you for the opportunity to testify before this committee on these two pieces of legislation related to cleanliness. The SOI is committed to keeping New York City clean, safe, and healthy. The department sweeps the streets, empties litter baskets, tows derelict vehicles, and removes graffiti. We also clear snow and ice from city streets, which we are still in the process of doing following last weekend's snowstorm. But we can't do this alone. Property owners are our partners in maintaining street cleanliness and keeping sidewalks clear. They are required to maintain a clean sidewalk, to remove litter and debris from the first 18 inches into the street, and to set out waste at the proper time and in the proper receptacles. They are also responsible for clearing snow and ice to create a 4-foot clear path on their sidewalks so people can pass safely. The SNY has the authority to enforce these requirements and issues violations to a specific address. First, on the bill sponsored by Chair Sanchez, when the SNY traverses the city, we observe and receive complaints about dirty conditions, as well as failure to remove snow and ice at bike share stations, bus stops, and other locations that are in the public right-of-way. Unfortunately, it's the neighborhood's residents and property owners who have to live with these conditions every day. The administration supports the intent of this legislation to keep the area around these structures clean. We do have some concerns with the bill as it is currently written, and would like to work with the council to further this goal. We thank the chair and Speaker Menon for their focus on cleanliness, quality of life, and safety, and we look forward to working with the council and our sister agencies on this important issue. Next, on the bill sponsored by Councilmember Abreu, which would require DSNY to implement a pilot program to clean and remove odors and spills from sidewalks and commercial corridors using power washing machines. Keeping sidewalks clean is the responsibility of the adjacent property owner. With DSNY's limited resources, we are focused on streets and shared public spaces that is the city's responsible for. That said, we are always open to testing new technologies to enhance cleanliness, and we understand that there are some heavily trafficked commercial corridors where sidewalk conditions sometimes exceed the normal course of regular cleaning by the adjacent property owners. Some of these commercial corridors already benefit from supplemental sanitation service provided by business improvement districts. The SOI would be interested in working with the sponsor on ways to promote cleanliness of all commercial corridors, including those that do not currently benefit from a bid or supplemental sanitation provider. We look forward to discussing this goal and the bill with the council. The law department is also reviewing the bill for legal issues. Finally, while not on today's agenda, DSNY supports additional legislation related to cleanliness in commercial corridors, which would expand the hours during which the department may enforce commercial cleanliness rules. Right now, commercial cleanliness rules can only be enforced during two 1-hour blocks each day, which significantly limits our ability to keep these corridors clean. Extending enforcement authority during business hours would give DSNY more tools to do our job and lead to a cleaner commercial corridors in each of your districts. Thank you for the opportunity to testify before you today. We look forward to working with this committee to enhance cleanliness and improve quality of life for all New Yorkers. And now, welcome any questions.
Before we begin, I want to make sure that I recognize my colleague, Councilmember Ung. Thank you so much, Commissioner. So, under the current framework, who is responsible for maintaining the areas and the structures operated by the concessionaires and the franchisees?
So the requirements based on concessionaire and franchisee agreements vary from a different agreement. They generally have agreements in them to make sure that they maintain cleanliness, but it depends on, I guess, which franchisee or concessionaire we're referring to.
And as it presently stands, what, if any, recourse does DSNY itself currently have if these areas around these structures are not maintained or not cleaned?
So we currently do not have any enforcement authority around these areas. Our sister agencies that hold these agreements with the franchisees and the concessionaires have recourse spelled out in their agreements as far as enforcement authority goes.
And to add on to that, with your sister agencies, how close in collaboration do you work with them to ensure that they are, issuing and keeping these franchisees and concessionaires accountable to the agreements that they have with these sister agencies?
Yeah, so as far as sister agencies, particularly a lot of the operational ones, regardless of what the issues are, we are in close coordination with any kind of cleanliness issue, even snow removal. So regardless of what it is, we're in constant coordination with them. We work great with them. So it's like one of these things that, we work well with them. It's just obviously just constantly keeping that open line of communication with them. Yeah.
And we will be talking about the snowstorm, in later hearings.
Yep.
But just in particular around these concessionaires and these franchisees,
Right.
Can you talk to me about how you've been able to operate with cleanliness standards during this time, in terms of just your staff and
Right.
your, the allocation that you've had to make in staff allocation to helping to maintain these?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to cleanliness, a lot of any issues would be primarily the DSNY's issues would be anything that primarily obstructs our street sweepers or mechanical brooms. There may be issues from time to time. This bill covers, some of the bus shelters, any kind of like street furniture, things like that, the Lincoln YC stations. But primarily our major issues are with mechanical broom obstructions. So right now, as far as those concessions and franchisees are concerned, there's not one particular issue that I can point to as far as, a major issue.
And if this bill were to pass, does DSNY have the enforcement staff to carry out the powers that the bill would grant?
So I think there's still some research that we'd have to conduct as far as how that mechanism will work. But as far as DSNY is concerned, so the way we're structured is we're broken up into 232 sections across the city within the 59 districts. Each one of those sections is covered by a field supervisor, and that supervisor is responsible for maintaining, cleanliness standards all across that section, and it's making sure that people's wastes are collected on time, responding to 311 complaints, issuing any kind of violations when it comes to cleanliness standards. So those supervisors would be part of they'd have to encompass this as part of their daily routines if this was something that was passed.
If this were to pass, do you have any idea of how DSNY would identify a location where a franchisee or concessionaire has failed to maintain its area?
Yeah, I think that's part of just reemphasizing the point I just made. I think those supervisors cover a lot of ground, and I just kind of want to just clarify those sections are broken up even further within, frequency. So, you're familiar with, if you get picked up on a Monday and a Thursday, their concentration would be in that area on a Monday. And then, they pretty much always patrol like the mechanical brooms during street cleaning regulations. So they're all across the section, but then they bounce around time to time. And during their travels is where they make a lot of these observations, and, any kind of cleanliness issues would be part of, that they would be reporting up to us.
And in terms of the cleanliness standards, do you think that this bill goes beyond what a regular civilian, a property owner has to deal with when they're doing regular civilian enforcement?
You're saying as far as that these franchisees and concessionaires? So I think that some of these areas that we're talking about are areas that, you're right, like they are a little bit beyond sometimes what they are maybe responsible for. So this is just kind of just trying to identify what those lapses are and just try to, find a way to kind of rectify those. Yeah.
Great. And can you describe some of the more like egregious examples of locations in the city where a franchisee or a concessionaire has not kept their area clean?
So I really don't have a particular egregious example. A lot of the times, some of the things that we get, we're made aware of are things in bus shelters, and it's not really egregious. I know that there's a vendor that maintains that, but generally, we really don't have any egregious examples as far as, the things that are covered in this bill right now.
Thank you. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize two of my colleagues that are with us virtually, and that is Councilmember Hanif and Councilmember Chanel Thomas Henry. I want to open the floor to any of my colleagues if you have any questions. Yes. Turning it over to Councilmember Ung.
Hi, good afternoon. It'll be brief. It's about the power washing, exploring new technologies. I have a very busy commercial corridor in Flushing, Queens. I think we talked about this many times. And a power washing machine is much needed. And I have been in talks with my bid about how to do that. The issue is that there's not enough space in that bid to have that machine, which I don't think maybe I'm not the only bid who has this issue.
Right.
So I think it'll be great if we could talk, the new technologies. I read this. It'd be great if we could, have further discussions about that.
Sure.
Is there thoughts about, any way to make this work? Because a power washing machine is really important in commercial corridors.
Yeah, so I think there's a few things here. I think what we envision with this pilot is procuring a vendor to try to perform this work. Particularly just because it's a pilot, we want to learn from things, right? So, and they could expand, the reach of what technologies are out there. Sometimes the word technology, people think it's something really like, oh my God, so cool and new. But I'm thinking just something as simple as they have these attachments that go on power washers that are just limited to the ground and surface, and they can clean that pretty well. So things like that I just know anecdotally from, my personal experience, I think would benefit in some of these areas. But I think finding a vendor, getting a contract with them and kind of figuring out what options are out there. And obviously their reach is a lot more than, the city in certain cases. So I think that's what we're envisioning. Yep.
Councilmember Santos-Poso.
Thank you, and thank you, Commissioner, for being with us today. And again, thank you for the split shifts that all your workers are doing right now and removing and cleaning all our streets and sidewalks. I appreciate you being here, especially with that going on. I want to focus, as far as the concessionaires bill goes, on City Bike, because there was recently an expansion into Bay Ridge, which I represent.
Right.
And concerns around litter within City Bike stations was one of the main points of contention for people that were not necessarily supportive of City Bike coming into the neighborhood.
Right.
Currently, can you lay out for me more in detail how those City Bike docks are kept clean?
Right. So City Bike is not covered under this, so they have a contract.
Okay.
So they wouldn't be considered a concessionaire or a franchisee.
Okay.
So they wouldn't be covered under this legislation.
Got it.
Yeah. But
Okay.
my understanding is that they do have cleanliness standards that they're required to maintain. But I would defer those to the Department of Transportation for more specifics.
And so maybe we should lay out for my edification, what are the concessionaires that would qualify under
Sure.
this legislation?
All right, so I have that here. Okay, so coordinated street furniture franchisee JC Decole, which is bus shelters,
Right.
Newsstands, automatic public toilets, Link NYC kiosks, and then any plaza and park concessionaires. That's what would be included in this legislation.
Understood. Okay. And is this currently subcontracted? Is it separately handled for each of those concessionaires, or is it?
Yeah, I think would defer to the agency responsible to holding that concession or franchisee, but I would imagine that they all have different mechanisms in place.
Okay. And would you be concerned that that if enacted, this would somehow take away the existing capacity of sanitation to conduct its ongoing enforcement that it's currently required to do?
So, again, just really until we get the full scope of what would be required if legislation was passed. I know there's obviously some more work to do and work
Right.
through that with the council and administration. If it's something that it's during the course of our travels, as I mentioned, I think these supervisors cover a lot of ground, and they're responsible for anything cleanliness. I don't think it's just we don't send them out and say your mission for the day is to make sure this is done. It's just everything. Sometimes it's not easy. It's a lot of ground to cover, but I think anything within the course of duties and travels, they would be responsible for reporting up. That's a lot of times how we find issues where you see 311 complaints. They go investigate, and then you're like, oh, I've never seen this before, and then that's how we find some issues sometimes. So I think this would be in the course of their duties if passed.
Got it. Okay. And then, Chair, do you want me to focus my questions on just the
You can
concessionaires
move
bill?
on to the
Okay.
power washing bill.
So has a power washing pilot ever been conducted in the past?
So not to my recollection, I believe there was something done with the Clean NYC program many years ago, but I couldn't speak to specifics of it.
Okay.
And I believe maybe some bids might do that, separately on a case-by-case basis.
But as far as sanitation goes, there's no
No.
precedent here for that. Okay. Okay, it's probably early to discuss what the possible costs of something like this would be, so I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to open up the opportunity. Sorry, going back to the concessionaires bill, you mentioned that there might be you supportive in spirit, but there might be some concerns.
Yeah,
about it.
of course.
Do you wanna
Yeah,
flesh-
I think it's just more, anytime I'm asked about any legislation, anything that supports cleaner streets in any capacity, we're supported in that spirit. Obviously, there's mechanisms that impact different agencies. So we want to make sure that we're all, we're all aligned on that. So, but I mean, obviously, cleaner streets are always going to be, DSNY is always going to be supportive of that.
Got it. Okay, I think that's all I have. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, council member. So moving on to some questions that I have about the power washing bill. Does DSNY anticipate that power washing sidewalks may result in increased slip and fall risk?
So I think when it comes to any kind of, a program or operation that's outside of our normal, I shouldn't even say outside of our normal, I think any kind of operation that we have, safety is one of the most important things that we always take into consideration. I think when it comes to something that, as I mentioned, we haven't done before, obviously, safety is the utmost importance of anything, but I have to really defer more to the law department of bars, like specifics to that. But I think, safety is always number one in priority, no matter what it comes as far as DSNY is concerned.
Absolutely. And do you know if currently any DSNY street cleaning initiatives require coordination or authorization with DEP?
Yeah, so we're always into DEP is a great agency, and I just want the chance to thank them and DOT and Parks, and it was just great agencies that we always work with together. And DEP is one of them that we always coordinate with them. So this would definitely be one of the things that we'd have to coordinate with them. But I think obviously the good relationship we have with them, that this would be something that would be it wouldn't be a challenge. I don't think it would be. Yeah.
And understanding that this would bring such street cleanliness to us and trying to get us moving as fast as possible.
Right.
If we were able to move quickly on this bill, do you see the opportunity for DSNY to be able to carry out this pilot program in 2026 before the temperatures drop below freezing once more?
Yeah, I think that's one of my concerns, that procurements do take some time. And I think obviously, if I had, the typical, you get a power washer and, you power wash the sidewalks, kind of scope in mind, that might be a lot easier. But obviously, as I mentioned, like there's a lot of cool things out there that we want to explore, and procurements take time. So I think, that would be a concern to have that ready before, the fall and winter months, because, and then the last thing we want to do is, even if we're ready by then, now you have to watch for the cold temperatures, and then you're starting and stopping and then pausing a pilot. I think we'd want to have a nice clean break of like temperatures that are acceptable for this kind of pilot. So I think that would be a concern for me to start, as early as the April 2026 timeline.
Yep, absolutely. Bring in the contracts, Chair. Does does the agency have any locations in mind, particularly regarding any of the commercial corridors that they see as potential places to start this pilot program?
Yeah, I think there's plenty of areas that I can just, obviously over the years of, hearing from different elected officials and civic groups and things like that, I'm sure there's plenty, but I think I would feel more comfortable working with the council on kind of identifying areas. A pilot, obviously, you want to learn things, and you want it to be successful, right? So the scope of work is defining that is the most important thing. And I think corridors where you're going to also get support from the neighborhood and say, if this is great, I think those are the most important things. So I think the council, knowing your constituents the best would be the best to kind of know that, and then working in line with what our operational concerns are. And then I think that's the best thing. So I'd rather not define something that without knowing too much of, what the challenges are, but I think that's my position on it.
As a point of personal privilege, the Third Avenue bid would absolutely love some power washing. Does anyone have any more questions? If not, thank you so much for your time and your testimony.
Thank you.
We'll
And
bring
can
on-
I just say, I'm looking forward to working with this committee, and I want to go back also thank Councilmember Abreu, working with him during my tenure as acting commissioner. But just be rest assured, if some of you have mentioned that already, that my goal is to always get the streets clean, get them clear of snow, and I look forward to working with you. And anything I can do to make it better, I'm always open. I'm always available. So thank you for your time.
Absolutely. And thank you so much. You've been a great resource and ally during this snowstorm, and even from before, getting ready to take on this position. So I just really want to say thank you to the commissioner. Thank you to all the sanitation workers out there. Thank you for doing your job and keeping us moving.
Great. Thank you.
And bring on the next panel, please.
Okay.
Okay. I now open the hearing for public testimony. I remind members of the public that this is a government proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit those as transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant at Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant at Arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you will have 2 minutes to speak on the two pieces of legislation being heard by this committee today. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony you would wish to submit for the record, please provide that record to the Sergeant of Arms. You may also email written testimony within the next 72 hours of this hearing to testimony@council.nyc.gov. Again, that is testimony@council.nyc.gov. Audio and video recordings, again, will not be accepted. Is there anyone for the first panel? Seeing none, this hearing is hereby adjourned. Yeah. Yay.